Good afternoon. I appreciate the ability to speak to you guys today. My name is Marlaina Chastain. I'm here representing myself, but I did want to add that I founded an organization for strong women called Daughters of Liberty. We're not only in New Hampshire, but we're across our republic. We fight for our Second Amendment rights because we believe that Second Amendment rights better prepare women to not be victims. So Second Amendment rights, we hear a lot about women today in society. It's very important for women to support Second Amendment rights. House Bill 109 is named background checks for commercial firearm sales. We already have a federal law that states that background checks must be made. What I've heard today is a lot of phrases. There's loopholes with the federal government. There's loopholes with gun shows. Yet no one has really been able to provide any sources in regard to this. What we've found is that it's an ideology. It's regurgitated. People talk about it. So it becomes a fear for people. When my husband's Army, we travel the country. We've been to many, many gun shows. I personally have never seen a gun show that you are not required to fill out a background check in all 50 states. The problem with this bill is that it blurs the lines between what's required for commercial versus private. So it clearly states that private, it clearly states that it doesn't apply to private sales or transfers or exchanges. But in the same sentence, it says that if eligibility cannot be ascertained, the transaction must be done through a licensed dealer. So no clear definitions have been made regarding a private sale, exchange, or transfer. This bill makes a simple, innocent transfer of hands a criminal offense. Earlier, they had talked about, transferring to your children. I have 4 daughters. I've trained all my daughters in firearm safety and how to defend themselves with firearms. In theory, this bill would prevent me from exchanging firearms with my daughter. All 4 of them. We like to do that very often. See what they get, see what I get, we transfer. In Daughters of Liberty, we also train women in firearms across the country. We have firearm instructors, which could also potentially prohibit them from training properly. The other issue that hasn't been discussed is something very simple in New Hampshire. We have very good relationships with our neighbors and with our community. Oftentimes, we get a new firearm, what's the first thing we do? We want to show it off to our neighbors. So this bill could require for me to background check my neighbor before I could allow them to handle my firearm, even if it's unloaded, because the term has not been defined. It gets more complicated from there. For him to return it back to me, there's a possibility that I would also have to have a background check on myself. So the examples that I gave could be argued, right? That's never going to happen. But how many times has we as Americans said that's never going to happen, and then before you know it, we're staring face to face with something that we didn't think was going to happen? It's happening every day. This bill is a crack in the foundation of our Second Amendment. And each gun control bill that's passed, that crack widens. And before you know it, you're literally staring into a gaping hole. Laws are supposed to solve a problem. It's not supposed to create or complicate. According to the National Center for Health Statistics, homicides by firearm in New Hampshire didn't even make it in the top 10 leading causes of death. More citizens died from the flu than firearm-related deaths. What saddens me today is that I'm sitting here in New Hampshire, a very pro-Second Amendment state, discussing a bill that could potentially require me to background check my neighbor. And I'm just wondering if that's truly what we want for our people. Is that truly what we want for us? Our license plate reads, live free or die. Live free or die. When you overregulate or regulate very simple acts, that itself prohibits freedom. I don't want to change my license plate to live free or die trying. because if we keep regulating, that's exactly what's going to happen. So I urge you to please oppose HB 109.
Thank you, testimony. Representative Fields, but please be disciplined.
Yeah, one good question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I went to a gun show in Franklin. They had all kinds of, you name it, guns there. When people, they did raffles, they won a gun, or whatever, the rifle, whatever it was. They then, in turn, every time they went, they could not take that gun out of the place. They told them that they had to go to the gun place, register, and then come back there and get their gun. So that's the way that works, and I didn't know that until I went to Franklin.
Representative Fields, is there a question there?
Well, sort of, would you
No,
believe
that's
that?
fine, thank you. Don't know what you believe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much for your time, guys.
I'm going to ask for cooperation. We're going to try to be disciplined. Representative Burr, how's that?
Crop TV.